This is the workshop scheduled for February 7th, 2023. We're going to discuss a lot of information about the inner workings of the CDD and more administrative type, how we operate and move forward. But there may be other issues addressed as we move forward. So we welcome you all to the workshop. I'll call the roll at this point. Mr. Lee.
Here.
Ms. Phillips.
Here.
Ms. Castle.
Present.
And Ms. Kramer's here. So we do have 4 members. Our other seat is currently open, and we do have a request out for people to send in information if they would like to be considered for appointment to that seat. We'd love to have you.
I posted on Facebook, on several pages on Facebook. I posted on Nextdoor and also had information, Association Solutions send emails out to their email list.
Yep.
And it will be in the magazine, so it's already written up and submitted. So.
It's on the front page of the website as well. And for the record, we do have Angel, Brett, and David Hamstra on too.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Okay.
And members of the community.
At this time, we have audience comments. I don't see anybody.
Yeah, we have 2 other residents on.
Okay.
If anyone wants to speak.
Wonderful.
Unmute yourself and keep it under 3 minutes, please, but feel free.
And by the way, we're not taking any votes at this meeting. This is just a workshop, so no votes are allowed. So we're just having discussions.
Yes. Okay, hearing no one interested in audience comments, we'll move on to discussion items. At this time, Mr. Hamstra, who's our district engineer, had some information to provide to us. David, the floor is yours.
All right, just a few quick updates. I believe you all received by now Greg's color-coded neighborhood C1, C2 schedule to get to the homeowners, or at least put on the website for their information. Number 2, we are soliciting for inspectors in the area, meaning Osceola County. The best offer we got so far is an inspector for $120 an hour, which for inspectors, that's a little pricey. So we're still shopping before CCI gets too far along or ahead of us. We're trying hard to find somebody in that area that will, be out there 2 or 3 days a week to watch the guys, watch the firm. And then I put out there for Friday afternoon or Saturday morning, if those who are interested, if you want to meet on Billy's Trail, just let me know and we'll lock it in. So.
Okay.
Should that be limited to 1 board member, or could that be more than?
If we keep our mouth.
At the last meeting, it was going to be David, Teresa, and Mr. Dwyer.
Okay.
And I've sent out an email asking for their 3 schedules, so I can go ahead and get it scheduled for them to meet out there.
All right.
Thank you.
Anything else from David?
Anything else, David?
No, if anything pops up, just text or call me and I'll be driving for several hours. So.
Oh, okay. Well, drive safely.
Thank you.
Thank you, David.
Make good choices. See y'all later.
All right.
Bye.
Okay. I'm not sure what the agenda item discussion items means. Maybe that's items to bring up later, but.
Hello. Hello. Oh,
I can hear you.
Dan, can you hear us? Huh. Did they lose?
Somebody kicked the plug.
Right, let me see if I can email Dan.
I'll text Teresa. Or Dan.
Oh, there we are. Can you hear us?
You're on mute, Dan.
Yeah, there we are. You guys hear us now. Thank you, Sean. Thank you. Yeah, I think I just need to keep my little screen here minimized. It seemed to work pretty well at the last meeting, so but I appreciate the notes. If it does drop out again, please let us know. It should be stable from here, hopefully. So we'll continue. Sorry about that.
Okay, thank you so much. But you see the major categories. Different organizations do it differently.
Did you have a specific concern about the structure of the agenda?
I just wanted to put it out there in case anybody, if there's additional items you want included in the consent agenda to streamline the process. That might be an item by item basis. Or if you, again, our way of doing it is we had contractors reports typically at the first, so those contractors could get in and out quickly and don't have to sit through our whole meeting. And the question would be, do you want the old and new business matters still on there, or do you want to put most of that under the different staff reports?
No, I think anything that pertains to a staff report should go under staff report, but anything that isn't can go under new business matters or old business matters, depending on whether it's new or old. I think the idea for having the contractors reports and the audience comments early on, then the staff reports of the district managers report at the end. It's good. Did we get somebody new? iPhone. I think it's fine.
Okay. The only other thing was the audience comments, and I just wanted to run it by you because I've seen different as some of the county commissions I worked with or have dealt with do it a little differently. They have a general audience comment period where if something's not on the agenda, and this is typically at the beginning of the meeting like we do, but they also have when they audience member fills out a form and says, I want to speak on such and such an item. They wait until you get to that item to have them speak so that the information is fresh and you don't, forget to deal with it when you finally get down there.
And I have no qualms about doing that. It's just that we're going to have to announce at the beginning, at the first audience comments, to say if you
Want to speak on a specific agenda item.
wait until then instead of speaking now and speaking later, so we can streamline the meeting.
Right.
Can I just interrupt for 1 second?
Certainly.
So again, if you're going to allow audience comments to go back and forth during that, that's going to obviously prolong your meeting. You can do at the beginning of your meeting, you can do audience comments on anything. It can be agenda items or whatever you feel. That's an option as well. Or as Teresa just stated, you can do agenda items at the beginning and then anything they want to talk about at the end and have 2 comment periods. Or if you want to have comment periods on every item that's on the agenda, I mean, that can get pretty lengthy.
Right. And this still wouldn't be a back and forth because again, that can really run your meetings long, and we need to be very careful with that.
Yeah.
Because you've seen that our meetings get added, adds up quickly.
But this, as you said, they would have to put in a speaker request form to discuss a particular agenda item at the start of the meeting, not put it in mid-meeting or ask to speak on the agenda item while we're on that agenda item.
Okay,
We need to announce that up front immediately, like when we say we will accept audience comments, but you have to fill out a form immediately now about any particular agenda item. Otherwise, we can't take your comments at that later time, which is a time saver.
Do they fill out the speaker request form when they get here?
Yeah.
Or,
They
we
can,
could have put an asterisk on the agenda
But-
if there was a speaker request, but we don't have.
Right.
Well, we can actually, on the agenda form, Angel, I wonder if we could just put something for people who are reviewing it. If you would like, if you were an audience member and would like to speak at the meeting about a particular agenda item, please submit an agenda a speaker request form and a link for that form.
Right, so, yeah, that's a good idea. Right now, there's this footer on the front page. It has the table of contents, but it also has the district office, it has the phone number and the Zoom link. It'd be making that footer a little bigger, but we could also there have, for anyone viewing it online, click here to be taken to the form. And then for anyone that's in person, we could just have a few that were printed out and provide pens or whatever, and just, do whatever we can to ease the process, but still try and do that, enforce, using these forms to, try and keep things moving along.
Right.
Structure.
and Angel, what I don't want to have us do is that when we get to a particular item, that or each item, we have to stop and ask for audience comments.
No, that's
We're not gonna do that.
I think that's what you're gonna get into, because people aren't gonna understand about the form and fill out the form and all this, but we can try it and see, but we'll just have to really keep a close eye on that and shut it down if it gets to that, because I think people, if you open that up, people are going to anticipate that they can, well, hey, I want to talk about that particular comment, and that's going to keep going throughout the meeting.
But that's why we announce at the beginning of the meeting that if there's something they want to speak on, they submit a speaker request form now and not later.
No,
Once
I understand.
we get past audience comments, the opportunity to submit a speaker request form for a particular agenda item goes away.
Okay, that's fine. I just, until that gets down pat, just
Okay,
you might have some rogue warriors here a little bit.
Well, the other thought is that we'll still try and have all of the comments take place at the beginning. Be it just general, they have something they want to bring to the board, or is relevant to a specific agenda item. And, still try and have those, fill out the form to speak and then do those comments at the beginning. And this doesn't sound like a good policy, but once we actually get to that discussion point, it might not merit any more audience input. The audience might not have any more input, but if, so this doesn't really sound like a firm policy that we can follow, so.
Yeah.
I like trying to keep it
Right.
limited to the beginning, but still have some opportunity for interaction when merited.
right. What I found and what I've seen in other county commissions and city councils is that it helps, because sometimes if the comment is made at the beginning of the meeting, then by the time you get down there, or the person has to, we forget about it. And they're sitting there in the audience squirming because we've forgotten, yet we don't allow them to participate at that point in time. So this just might be a way. Now, it'll take a little more for, Angel or someone on the staff to collect the forms, and then what they do is they put it in order of the agenda item, then they hand it to the chair, and then you guys remind me to check, because I'll forget. But as it goes forward, we can try it out, see how it works. If it doesn't, we can always pull back to the beginning, or we could do, as Angel suggested, a beginning and an end. But if it's at the end, the problem is
No, it'll go on
Yeah.
forever. It'll go on
It-
forever.
And when we get close to the end of the meeting, we're like,
We're
we're
wasted.
green, you know, right, we just start hurrying to get it
Yeah.
done.
I mean, like I said at the last meeting, it's often after my bedtime.
So,
Well, Ranger probably by then.
Yeah, my brain melts.
all right, so we'll give that.
I need a bucket.
But, it has worked well, though. I'm not sure we need to make a change, because. Recently, we've had the gentleman, I can't remember his name, that came forward with the Billy's Trail proposals
Dwyer.
and that.
Right.
Oh, was that Tim that did that too? Okay. So, and then he's also doing a little, library, but he had presented all of that by email well ahead of time. And we all knew what he was presenting, and then it's all been taken care of. We didn't have to take up an hour of a board meeting to discuss all of that,
Right.
if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So if someone has something major to bring to the board, a suggestion or even a grand idea, that can be done ahead of time and be on the agenda as an agenda item all in itself.
And that would be nice if, you know, people would be pre-prepared like that and provide that information if they have something they're very strong.
Right.
Strong about.
I've done that in the past as a resident, put together, pictures or even getting estimates for, what some kind of project or something might cost. We should, that kind of participation from residents should be great. But, so I'm trying to think how we can encourage that, but it would still be, you want to, do this work, put information together in advance for the meeting
Mhm.
that would need to, I guess a week before the meeting or whatever is to get on the agenda, make sure it gets sent to Angel, sent to whatever board member that resident is talking to make sure it gets into the agenda on time.
Yeah, although they could introduce that for the first time. during
And
the
then have it on the
And
agenda
then,
next.
and then for the
Right.
next month, right.
Yeah, that might be better. That way the board could either say yay or nay, because sometimes, as we've all experienced, some residents may bring up things that are totally inappropriate.
Well, or that just we can't do as
Right,
much,
yeah,
as
outside
much
the
as we
scope
want
of-
to, right?
right.
As much as I want a Facebook page for the CDD, it's not legal, we can't do it, so, not within the framework that we want to use it, so.
Right.
And I know we have the website, and the website is a godsend, but a lot of people don't want to click on two things. You know,
Right.
They want everything at their fingertips on
Don't
Facebook,
understand that, but
right? So,
I think we'll discuss that later.
yeah,
Okay.
okay, but, so I'm not sure we need to make a change on this, but if the board feels, because
Okay.
you're all more experienced than me, so, obviously I.
okay. Well, we don't take any action tonight.
Yeah, we're not.
Nothing
voting.
at all. So this is just discussion for us all
Oh,
to get
okay.
ideas and information out. Is there anything else
Under structure, no.
under the structure? of the
No, I think
agenda?
the structure, that's been, for a newbie, it's been very clear to me how things were gonna go, you
Okay,
know?
and the consent agenda is working well for everybody?
Yep.
Yeah, except for, general ledger detail is something that's new and has been added. We actually didn't approve the financial statements either. Really, until this board, we approved the
Just the
check run
minutes and-
summary and check register, that's what we approved, but now we're approving financial statements and now the general ledger detail as well.
Okay.
as
Well, we can take that off the consent agenda
Yeah.
and just have it in the agenda
That's
package
fine.
for information.
Yeah,
Does that work better?
yeah, that's fine.
Okay,
What was that? I'm sorry. You want to take what and out of the consent agenda?
General ledger detail, I don't know that we need to approve that.
Okay,
and financial statements or?
We can approve the financial statements. I
okay.
mean, that's a
So just
typical
one.
thing to approve. I mean, not that we did it before, but
Okay, oh, the one thing I do want to bring to everybody's attention, if you have questions, particularly on something in the consent agenda, please reach out to Angel ahead of time, because you may be able to get a quick, I know my list of questions on where money's going and why it's being spent and why there's sales tax on this and we don't pay sales, all those questions. I get it to her in advance. And if she can get the answers to me before the meeting, then we don't have to, go through lengthy discussion.
Yes, yeah, the only, the only thing is that often, so we have, maybe the agenda gets to us on Thursday or Friday. And depending on what we have planned during that time, it may be hard to get to it until Monday or Tuesday, or even Wednesday. And so there's a limited amount of time to be able to put together a set of questions and get them to Angel and get the answers before the meeting.
Okay, well, if time permitting,
Yeah.
if you guys can try that. What I do is I set aside, since I know I'm getting it Thursday evening, then I just set time. I know to set that day aside because it takes me a full day plus, to go through this.
Yeah,
So, if you can
I know there was
over time work your schedule.
a former member who said that he spent half an hour on the agenda, and I just don't understand how that's possible.
I
Especially
don't
when
either.
the minutes alone are like, up to 80 pages,
Yeah,
usually at least 40 to 60.
I have to make an admission here. I do not read the minutes because it's too overwhelming, too long.
it's a lot. And let me just let everybody know what I do. I know Carol goes over them also. But I sit down, and again, it would be nice if we can see, instead of getting them Monday when the packages, information is ready. If we can get them the Friday before, because what I sit down with the minutes, put my headphones on, and I listen to the whole tape, and I check word for word and go through the whole thing. And just make sure it is accurate, because I retentive. And I know how important correct minutes are, because once legally, once the minutes are approved, then they are what happened at the meeting, regardless of what's on the tape or what actually happened. So we don't want anything in those minutes that would misrepresent what happened.
Well, it's so overwhelming to me still. But I do go through them, but I don't listen to it and read, and
I understand, and I don't think there's a reason for all of us to do that.
I was just gonna say, because I know that both of you do it. And so as time goes on, if we want, maybe we could split the minutes up, and you take the first 10 pages, you take the second 10 pages, or something like that,
Well, I don't think Carol you don't go item by item with reporting, do you?
No, I don't listen to
But she
the
catches some things that,
Well, yeah.
for whatever reason, I don't, because sometimes your eyes glaze over.
Right.
I have a very hard time listening, speech is slow and reading is fast. And I have a hard time staying with listening and following along with the written text. So I go through the written text word for word, every single line, every single word. And so sometimes you catch things I don't, and sometimes I catch things you don't.
So I think between the two of us, we can.
But I
feel
feel
pretty
guilty
sure.
that I don't help.
Don't feel guilty. We're gonna make you work your.
Well, it's because I'm, more familiar with more of these things. Yeah.
All right, yeah, we should move on because we're already
Yeah.
24 minutes and we're only on the first of,
Right, well, some of these will go fairly quickly.
20 items.
Preparation for meetings. Does anybody have any questions about how to go through the agenda packet and what to look for or not look for or anything like that?
Well, my son gave me a new, his old laptop, which has got a nice big screen compared to mine. So I'm gonna be able to do that a lot better because it gets, I start and then I fizzle before I get to the end.
Yeah.
But going through the bills is very interesting and because there's so much information there, but it's a lot to take in. So what I need to do is start doing it over a period of days and not try to do it all at the same
Exactly.
time.
I don't do it. I generally
is,
don't do it. I generally divide it up into 4 or 5 days.
So you say we get it on Monday for the meeting on
No,
Thursday?
you get the package
Thursday
on
or Friday.
Thursday.
Before, okay. that's-
Yeah, late Thursday afternoon. And then for the following Thursday. night.
Okay,
So you
alright.
have about 7 days.
yeah.
Yes,
think the biggest question, I know that Dane had, Joe, I'm not sure if you had the same question, but he didn't understand really. If looking at the agenda, what needed action by the board? What did you need to review to be able to come to the meeting and take action on? So I think, I don't know if that may help you, but it's typically anything that's in new business, you're gonna be asked to take action on or table it. Any sort of proposals, contracts, which would typically all fall under new business. Teresa, is there anything else am I missing besides new business?
Yeah, no,
There-
under CDD roles too.
There is a lot under the staff reports.
Yeah,
that,
proposal.
right now, proposals are under field managers. Sometimes they're under district engineers report
Or legal counsel.
or legal counsel, or the district manager's report. So it may be good for us to, on the agenda, put an asterisk next to things. And again, I'm trying to get field services to put the proposals that are alternatives to each other under a separate item. So we know we're not going to vote on each one of those. We're going to pick one of those three. So if you can work with us, Angel, on that, I'm getting that cleaned up so that it makes it easier to understand.
Well, and she's right, because I did not understand the whole thing about the new landscape company. What I was supposed to do before I came to the meeting, and so I felt guilty afterwards because I had to fill out that form and face a vote that night. And I really wasn't prepared. So I'm very happy that the two of them joined together because it takes the burden off me from
Right.
feeling bad. If that makes sense, you know,
Oh, it does.
but yeah.
Yeah.
Now, my sense is that if you review everything in the agenda, you will be knowledgeable enough to make a decision.
Somehow it's those pages.
In that case, it might have been that we had these big landscape proposals, so then.
Right.
I mean, a separate email, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, and that's why it's important to try and get everything in the agenda package
Right.
and not have add-ons or things sent out later. It all needs to be in that agenda package, because if it gets sent out later, one, it's hard to figure out where it goes and what it does. And also the public doesn't see that stuff that gets sent to us later. And we want to be as transparent as possible with the public so that they can see the same thing we're looking at.
And I would say for Angel, when that does happen, if it's something that's just for us to review versus if it is something that is supposed to be public facing, this would have gone into the agenda, but now it's something that we're going to reference under separate cover, but needs to be published. Just make sure that there's special, that's communicated directly, and call out so we can add it to the website. That there's room under each agenda to put if there's an extra data information package or something that's been done in the past. I just need to make sure whether it's something for us to have as a board for the meeting versus if it's something that needs to go out on the website. Just please make that.
Yes, understood. And also just for the board's just knowledge, moving forward, if you do have like landscape proposals, that's really the bulk of it. That will, if that gets put in your agenda, they're so large that the agenda won't go out. We're having problems with it failing, which is why we typically put those under separate cover. But it's Dan, as far as making those available to you to post on the website as additional add-ons, but that should be the only thing that's ever added on. It should be, unless it's something legal. Outside of that, I really don't see, we shouldn't be accepting anything late to the agenda.
Well, sometimes there's engineering stuff, like there were the proposals for I think there were some proposals engineering wise that came in because they didn't make it into the agenda package on time because they came in late to the engineer, so he couldn't get it to us in time or to you in time to include in the agenda. So I think, stuff happens, and try as we might to make sure everything is in the agenda package, sometimes it's just not possible. So we just, if you can send it to Dan to post online, at least people will be able to reference it during the meeting or before the meeting so that, we're not doing things in the dark.
Understood.
And again, that's the importance of the different reports from our different staff, the field manager, district engineer, council, and managers report. That can save us a lot of time in our meetings if they're detailed. If you guys want to get something across to the board, go ahead and put it in that report. And then we don't have to discuss it or have a presentation by that individual unless there are questions from the board members. So again, that could really streamline our meetings if you guys will stick with us. I kind of miss David's really good engineering reports. I'm hoping he will start those back again because they were easy to read. They were a lot of information and we didn't have to spend long presentations before the board to deal with them. Okay. Any other questions about the agenda?
No, we were on.
Preparation, sorry. Okay, participation. This is, again, we already dealt with the audience comments question. But participation again is giving the public, our residents, as much information ahead of time so they can, if they choose. Many people don't, and I understand busy lives and everything, but for those who do want to be knowledgeable and ask questions, and we need to have that information out there for them to see. It's just a transparency thing. Anything else about participation?
I'm not sure what you meant by participation.
I don't, well, I wasn't exactly sure, but I guess it would be board member participation. What I'm trying to do as chair is to make sure that everybody has an opportunity, all the board members have an opportunity to give their input. And then I typically lay low until last, so everybody can get into the discussion. Have you guys got any input of how I might improve that, or
I think it's good.
is it working well?
Yeah, I know there are some times where you're passionate about a particular subject and you can't help but go first, but that happens. too.
Yeah,
We
I-
understand.
yeah, my only comment is related to what we talked about earlier with with the audience comments, just and I'm guilty of this myself, just as much as a quick little reply or anything, just let them have the 3 minutes and just and trying to keep everything moving to try and as much as we can hold ourselves to that, and then at the proper discussion time bring that up, address whatever needs to.
Mhm. Yeah, because that can get pretty lengthy,
Yeah.
so. Joe, improvements or recommendations?
No, I had made a vow to myself that I wasn't gonna speak when people did their 3 minutes, because that is something we shouldn't do, and I actually wore a bracelet for the one meeting, because that was my reminder. Not to do that. Don't do that. I mean, you want to, because you want to help, but it also is not proper procedure.
Yeah, it is frustrating. I know that. I like to go back and forth, but again, there would be 6-hour meetings.
Right.
to do that. Follow up to the meetings. Angel puts together a summary. She gets it out to all of us. And then identifies, what staff member in either Infomark or the district engineer, or whatever. So that, is there any improvements or changes anybody would like to see in that?
No, I think that's well done.
And as I think you all know, I post that on the various Harmony Facebook pages and Nextdoor so that people can attend the meeting or aren't available to stream the meeting either during or after. They can just see it, the summary at the end.
Okay.
And then that frees me up during the meetings to pay closer attention instead of trying to take notes while listening.
Yes. Yeah, it brings you much more into the meeting.
Yeah.
And that's it. In the past, I think it was Mr. Farnsworth used to post those on the website, but they haven't. Kristen was uncomfortable with that. Angel, do you have any thoughts?
Post what on the website?
Those follow-ups.
Oh,
I don't have any, I don't have any issues if that's what the board wants. I don't have any issue with that at all. I have other districts that will take my meeting summary and even Brett's field recap, and they'll send it out in an e-blast. to all their residents. That's totally a board decision. I personally don't have a problem with it. But I would ask if that's what you're doing, to make sure the board reviews it first and sends me any revisions or things that I could have missed or anything before it goes public. That's my only request.
Oh, that is a good idea. So Angel, if when you send it out the first time, if you'll make sure you note draft, so none of us forgets and posts it or publishes it or anything.
Sure.
Then you can put a final out after you've gotten comments. Does that work?
Okay.
Okay, that way we can distinguish, so we don't misstep and put the wrong thing out.
Yep.
The next item was a discussion of CDD roles. I don't know, Angel, do you want to go through each one of these, or Brett, if he wants to deal with field services? Or do you want to just take questions from us? I don't know. Some of us may not know what we don't know. So. Steve,
Do you want to start with field services? Does anyone have a question on what field services does for you? The roles, any of that?
My only question is, how's the search going? Which doesn't have to do with roles really, it just has to do with how that's going.
Brett?
Yeah, I can give you an update. So currently, good evening, sorry, should say that. We do have an employee out there, Jason Castillo. He is bilingual, very, very well trained, comes from our celebration staff. And we're really high on him. He's currently shadowing Vincent. And the goal is he's going to stay shadowing Vincent. He's only in his second full week. And he'll shadow Vincent probably for another 4 weeks before any transition's made. Jason will be attending the next CDD meeting in person. And so you'll get to meet him and say hello. And, you know, again, he's going over all the SOPs, all of the, card access information, the boat registrations, how that works, any pavilion rentals, scheduling, getting to know the guys, the tasks they do, the tasks we're responsible for. He's working with the new landscape vendor and Benchmark. So we're going to make this a smooth transition, and that's currently where we're at with it. And I can take any questions you may have.
Thank you, Brett.
Second new hires, Brett.
Yeah, so we do have a new hire starting next week. We have had, and she comes with experience. She's got some janitorial experience and pressure washing. So she's, we're excited to have her on board. We still have the 2 labor staffers. So currently right now on staff, you have 6 employees right now, which obviously is a little bit heavier than what's been in the past, but obviously the training piece isn't gonna change, or Jason's role isn't necessarily fully out in the field doing stuff. So, you got 5 full-time employees right now. Ernesto Santiago, unfortunately, is leaving. He's got some health issues that he's got to deal with, and I think he's going back to Puerto Rico for that. We have had some applicants from, one was from Melbourne. Fortunately, that one didn't pan out. He wanted a job offer before an interview to drive out to Harmony for the interview. So we said, yeah, that's not going to happen.
Yeah, I appreciate that. We don't need to do those, but my understanding, permanent staff right now, we have Jason, who's going to be replacing Vincent. Is that correct?
Correct.
Then we have Brad,
Correct.
and then we have Ernesto, but he's leaving.
We also have Vincent as well as Jason currently, because.
Correct.
But what I'm looking for is what's going to be on the other side. And then we have a new hire coming on.
Correct.
So to get up to full staff, you still need to hire 1 more. Oh, well, actually 2 more, the replacement for Ernesto and the open position.
Which we have staffed right now with labor staffers. Correct.
Right, you have day laborers coming in. Are we keeping consistent day laborers so that when they
Yeah.
get,
Yep, it's been the same. One of them has been the same labor staffer for the last 3 or 4 weeks. We've kicked a few out. If they don't show up, we tell them we don't want them back. So we're pretty picky with it. It's not like we're picking them up from Home Depot in the back of the truck. So
I don't know, you can find some good ones there, let me tell you. But now is it a situation where they can turn into permanents later or?
correct. Yep. If our contract with them is they have to work a set number of hours with us, and then once they hit that number of hours, and we can move to proceed to hire them as full-time employees. And we've done that with quite a few staffers, to be honest with you.
Okay. Any other question? In CDD services, if you go to the contract, I think I sent it out to everybody previously with Infomark. It has the scope and it has very specifically, the 5 positions and what is expected of each position. And again, some of these could cross and stuff, but again, it can give the board members and the residents and the public, if they want a copy of it, we can put that out there. But exactly what, because our field services staff does a lot. I mean,
Yes.
they do a lot, but I want to remind all the board members that again, our role, which we'll get to in a minute, is our role is strictly policy making and making the high level decisions. We're not allowed to go up to Ernesto or Brad and say, hey, I need you to do this. The contract is very specific that our expectation is to go through Brent and not mess around with the field staff. So-
Infomark is the employer.
Yes, Infomark is the employer, and yeah, there are all sorts of situations where that has gotten not necessarily in harmony, but in a lot of other public services. And that's why, again, you see the city managers in many of the cities, or the county manager gives that protection for the employees from the politicians or the elected officials. So we want to keep that separation. So just as a reminder there. And that brings us to our district manager, unless anybody has another question about field service. Okay, tell us what you do, Angel, and give us a quick rundown or. any- And that's in the contract too, if you really want to detail. We don't need to spend the time here, but just generally, she runs us.
That's essentially it. And yes, my scope is in the contract, but if anyone has any additional questions, I'm happy to help and answer those. Your point of contact via the contractor, not really the contract per se, but in all districts, we have one point of contact. It typically is the chairman. And so there's a lot of stuff behind the scenes in between meetings that Teresa and I do, meet, accounting, financials, all that kind of stuff behind the scenes. So, but if you have any other questions, I can answer them. If not, we can move on.
Okay, any questions about the district manager? Okay, district engineer, our district engineer role is to advise us on our infrastructure. And again, I don't know if he's still here or listening, but
So
the district engineer's job, and think of it horizontal versus vertical. Our district engineer does everything horizontal. So the stormwater ponds, pipes, the alleyways, anything that needs engineering input. Typically, the district engineer does not do things that go up. So your structures, and that's why when we look to move the storage area out from near the garden out to another area that has a more permanent access or a reliable roadway, we're going to have to bring in probably an additional planner and builder. We may not need an engineer for that since at least one of the possible locations already has a road bed and everything there, so we wouldn't have to look for that. So does anybody have any questions about our district engineer and what he does? Okay. District legal counsel, again, pretty self-explanatory. He advises us on the legalities and keeps us out of trouble, hopefully, if we listen to him or her, whichever the case may be. Any questions about district legal counsel? And the supervisor's role. Angel, you want to go over that? What we can and can't do, or should or shouldn't do?
Yes, so your role as a supervisor is policy driven. You are an elected official and your essential job is to make the policies and decisions for the district. It's our job as management and staff, meaning council, engineer, and all of that, to bring you as much information as we possibly can on whatever the topics are for you to be able to make an intelligent decision on those topics. It's not to get into the weeds and go out and do stuff. There is no policy against board members meeting with vendors or what have you, but it really can get chaotic if you get into the habit of doing that, because then the vendors are being pulled in different directions. So, but the essential job that you have, as I stated, is policy driven. It's administrative. Joe, I know Dan, Carol, and Teresa have an idea. Is there any specific questions from you that you may be confused about or in the gray about that I can help clarify? I don't want to go into the weeds with everybody else, being that they understand.
No, I'm starting to understand that with each passing month. For instance, you know, with the RV lot, I was laying awake the other night and I started thinking, what was it I was thinking? There was some little minutia that I should leave in your hands, is what I'm trying to say. So I'm starting to finally get it. About the policy making and not getting into the details. You bring us the information, we make a decision, and then you carry it out.
Right. And if there are things that you're seeing out there or that you don't necessarily, think should be going on, then obviously the time to bring that up is at a board meeting under supervisor comments, or if you ask for something to be added to the agenda because you're noticing something out there that's not quite the way it should be, that the board needs to look into and possibly make a decision on. The other big part that I will say this, and I stress this in every district, board members, you do have access to your legal counsel and your engineer. However, they are billable and you can rack up billable expenses very quickly. So what we typically, and most boards will, if it's an out of hand problem, the board sometimes will make a motion or policy or something stating that you need to run everything through your district manager. Either I can get you the answer, and if I can't, then I will go to council or engineering to get that answer for you. If you start reaching out directly, again, just keep in mind they are billable. That can get your expenses out of whack. So outside of that, that's pretty much it.
That was item 7.
Yes, I was going to say that.
That was as Angel said, as far as the chair is concerned, basically acts kind of like a mayor or a coordinator, so that you don't have to worry about everything. I coordinate with our district manager, and together we make sure the wheels don't fall off. So that's pretty much what
I do have a question under this item B7, 3B7. In regard to contact with field services, for example, right behind my house, the drain partly collapsed yesterday. And so I texted Brett directly to say this is going on. Apparently somebody had already reported it to him and he let me know that they were addressing it. But sometimes it feels like it's a little, I mean, Brett's not going to be sending billable hours, and I just thought it would be much more direct to go right to him, since it was a relatively dangerous situation with
Yeah.
essentially.
And you can, that's not a problem. We're just, that would be for district legal counsel and district engineer.
Well, it's on
fact-
staff.
Yeah, in fact, for all of us, one, we're still residents. And I constantly am sending things into CDD maintenance, and letting them know. But again, if it's a health and safety issue that needs to be addressed, our contract says that the supervisor's point of contact is Brett. Yeah, that would be appropriate.
And I just want to say, Brett, thank you for being so quickly responsive. So a neighbor sent me a photo of that drain problem yesterday, and I reached out to him and he got right back to me. And later on that day, another neighbor reached out to me about the sycamores on Beargrass and what was happening with them. And he responded like this: "Thank you, Brett. I so appreciate your responsiveness and your clarity. Thank you."
No problem.
And along those lines, if, we, acting as residents, are sending something into CDD maintenance. I mean, I know a lot of times, Vincent might be the one that replies, but we've made that communication through Infomark and everything, so that's not the same as us. Hey, I
Yeah,
this thing-
Vincent, I need this thing,
Right.
and the reason for that separation is that the case law is replete with supervisors or county commissioners or town councilmen who have been misused.
Mm.
And, just blurring the line between so it's good to have that extra thing. When we send things into CDD maintenance, it goes to Angel and Brett, in addition. Is that right?
Yes, it goes to Brett, myself, and 6 other people.
So Infomark is fully informed. Okay, now on 7, as far as information, so we check with the district manager first. Angel, you're our district manager right now?
Forever.
Forever. And so we'll touch base with Angel first. She may have the information you need right off the top of her head, or she may be able to get it, but it streamlines it in that we all may have the same question. And if all 4 of us go to the district engineer or go to the district attorney, again, those billable hours rack up.
We
real
understand.
quick.
Yes.
So.
You got it.
Next item are supervisors serving as liaisons. We only have one formal area that we have a liaison to a specific entity, and that's the Buck Lake Committee. We share Buck Lake with Harmony West. They actually own it, and we have an agreement that provides us with full access to it. We share costs in maintaining it. And there is a Buck Lake Committee. Right now, we've been able to work out most of the concerns with it and get to a point where we're just on an annual basis of meetings. The next meeting is in March. I'm currently the liaison to that, but if anyone else wants to take that on, I'd be more than happy to turn it over. So just let Angel know if you're interested, and then we can bring it back to the board to get that change made.
Go ahead, Joe. Yeah.
Yes,
You mean the lake where the boats are?
yes, ma'am.
That's owned by Harmony West?
Yes,
Yes.
Does it border Harmony West?
yes.
Yeah, the canals and everything that come off the lake.
Oh, all right.
The original intent was to have it owned by a conservation management entity, a nonprofit. But I don't know all the history of it. It was going to be donated to us, but then it was turned over to them. But we do have an agreement that locks it in, and it would be very difficult for them to block us out, or if not impossible.
But they don't use our boats.
No,
So are they ever gonna put in their own?
They're not gonna put in their own boat area. They do have 2 launching areas controlled by homeowners associations that are behind gates. But they are specifically for basically hand launching of canoes and kayaks.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, now when the north gets developed, they'll probably have their own dock. Is the understanding, is that correct?
I don't know, they weren't included in the agreement.
Okay, yeah,
And being
so,
that it's a private lake,
right, yeah.
That's your backyard, right?
Oh, a lot of people's back here.
I know, but I mean,
Yeah.
yeah. Making sure you got the right.
Right, I guess at different times, I mean, they carved out, Harmony West has its own CDD, is it gonna be yet another separate CDD for the north, do we know?
Not sure. I thought it was part of Harmony West.
Harmony West wraps around,
Okay.
I've seen the full.
Oh, right.
It wraps around.
Yeah.
Right.
And
It's all Harmony West.
I think it tags into you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it borders on the ranch.
Yes,
Okay.
so, my question was, how often and when are those, Buck Lake committee meetings?
Again, we've gotten them down. I brought all the information back to the board about the agreed upon plan and policies and everything with the lake. And we adopted all those. So now it's strictly a once a year in order to have a contract with an entity to maintain the lake.
Which has been biotech.
Biotech. Unfortunately, the difficult part of all this is that it's a 2-person committee, so you end up with a stalemate,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And does it, when they do have these meetings, is it like weekday during business hours?
Yes.
Is it-
Yes, because they are still a developer control. Now, once they're no longer a developer controlled CDD, then that may change.
Right.
And the meetings may be in a different location. Right now, they're up in Kissimmee at Johnston Surveying. And it's kind of a pain in the rear to get there.
And, would their threshold for going over the resident control, is that contingent on that entire developable area? Like, that's gonna be a while, right?
So we'll see. But anyway, so think about it if I know both of you.
Well,
have an
I'm
interest in
willing to consider taking on item C2. Landscaping with the IFS and benchmark.
Okay.
But I think we need somebody with a firm. How do I articulate this? Somebody who is not a pushover with the Buck Lake Committee and Harmony West.
Read some of the minutes. Okay. So,
Yeah, so tell me more about liaison in terms of extension service and benchmark. What that role looks like.
Angel, I don't know, again. A lot of our landscaping is aging and needs to, in fact.
Believe me, I look at it every day.
Yeah, Jessica Sullivan said, hey, you guys need to rip out a lot of this stuff. It's because the trees have grown up. There's too much shade. You need to change out the type of vegetation.
Plus, I think we have a lot of shrubbery and other plant material that is aged out. In other words, just like a tree has a life, just like a human has a life, plants and shrubs have a life, and it's not indefinite, it's not forever. So, I think a number of these shrubs haven't care of, and they're also reaching the end of their life cycle. And but there's a lot of it, and it's going to be expensive replacement. But we need to focus on plants that are more native and that are appropriate for the particular location, the amount of light, the kind of soil, the amount of moisture, all of that, so that there's less maintenance required, less upkeep. And so that's my thinking about it.
Okay. And you're willing to run with that?
So I just
So-
need to know a little more about what the role is.
I would envision it as working with Benchmark to identify areas that need to be reworked in an order of priority, and we need to watch our budget while that's happening. But say if you select one pocket park and say, okay, that's gonna be a project, and then work with IFAS. Now, it won't be Jessica Sullivan, she gave me someone else's name there, but you could ask her.
So then the bigger
And then-
question for, I'm sorry, go ahead,
Then coming back,
come back to the board.
come back to the board and say, hey, this is what we worked with IFAS and with Benchmark. Here is what we would recommend, and maybe Benchmark can do a little graphic of it so that the board members, I'm not a good visual person with just names of plans.
Right.
But a little graphic, then we could take a look at it. It'll have a budget because Benchmark will be working with you on that.
So I have a question.
Mhm.
And this question is probably for Angel. Because we're replacing landscaping, will that fall under reserves, or will it fall under maintenance?
You have a line in the budget. Let me pull it up, make sure I say it the right way, but I believe it's other landscaping.
Yeah, but that's very minimal. It's a
Mhm.
small amount. It's not going to cover much at all.
If
not
it's a
That
rework
would need to come from reserves.
on replacement, which would be the
Well,
reserve.
that's why I'm asking Angel if that's like legal, if that's allowable. Can we use renewal and can we use reserve monies for renewal and replacement of landscaping?
Yes,
Okay,
you can use reserves for whatever the board would like them to. We did away with your earmarking reserves. Now it's just in an account, a reserve account, to be earmarked as you see fit.
however, we are going to need to discuss this in more detail regarding the amount within the reserves that we're willing to set aside for landscape refurbishment, because we're already spending a lot of those. We're probably going to end up having to pull money from reserves to or from somewhere to cover the extra cost of the landscaping services that is not in our budget.
I think we found that not touching reserves,
Okay.
so we'll hopefully
Right.
bring that back to you
But we
next.
also have a lot of other
Oh,
things
yeah,
that we
Yeah,
are,
have
that
to
we need,
be the
exactly,
front fence.
Yeah.
I mean, our
Yeah.
list from our reserve study
yeah,
is pretty major and
Expensive.
pretty
Yeah.
expensive.
Yeah.
We're just at that age in our community that it's that time.
so I'm gonna need input from the board before I meet with, but when
Mhm.
I'm looking with Benchmark, and I assume Brett is gonna be part of those conversations. Do I have that right, Brett, or not so much?
Yes.
Okay, well, I heard from Angel, not Brett, but okay.
She's his mom, and she can do that.
So I'm gonna need some guidance from the board about how much we want to set aside for that. And before I start meeting with Benchmark and talking with Brett.
Yeah, and if you guys could just get a feel for how much, how many of these areas we need to do, so we can figure out, how much of a priority this is. So that would be the landscape. There's the budget and the ponds were listed. I don't know where these came from. Management liaison, which I think I'm pretty much that with you, Angel, is that right?
Yeah, so typically if you want to develop them, usually you'll have a landscape pond. You typically, you don't really have much going on with your ponds. Management is typically your chair. If somebody's every now and then on a board, we'll have someone that's an accountant or that has finance background, and that's who the board would like to appoint as a budget/finance person.
Well, let's put out, that's the one thing I think we're lacking in expertise on the board right
Well,
now.
hopefully somebody, there will be people who will be applying. Have we gotten any applications yet, Angel, for the CDD board position?
Yes, we have two, one from a Mr. Meek and then one from Mrs. Meek. Those are the only two we have so far.
Well, at any rate, probably one of the things that we will hope to look for is, you know, a substantial financial understanding.
That, yeah,
Experience
that's,
and-
that's our gap right now because, you know, I know math, but accounting makes my eyes glaze over, so that would be great to have. The ponds, we do have, the lakes, folks from the lakes have approached us to do a little more on the ponds, but they said that at this point in time, since we have a new landscaper coming in, they'll wait and see how their maintenance of the pond goes before we, so think about it if you guys want to do that.
Are we talking, you know, because the landscaper doesn't deal
They just
with the
mow.
interior of the pond, they just mow around the pond, and that's only quarterly, right?
No, now they do it within a foot of the water's edge.
How
They do it
often? Every week?
regularly.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we still want to keep that buffer in there to protect from shoreline erosion.
And
Have
to
have-
catch trash before it
Right,
ends up.
before it hits the
Right.
pond.
And also to catch fertilizer runoff.
Mhm.
And have it.
Now, the other thing we already have, which I don't know if it's a liaison or a volunteer, but we have Dan who does the
Website.
the
And-
website
and the
and
Zoom
the
streaming.
recording of the meeting, so, you know. That's what he's got, so think about, Joe, what you might want to do or get involved with, and again, there are a lot of other areas that we can come up with. If you want to be the one looking and keeping an eye on. Again, I like to go, you take the most expensive areas and work down because you're gonna get your biggest bang for the buck, looking at the most expensive stuff. So our water bills, our electric bills, if you're willing to keep an eye on those and.
Yeah,
monitor
actually, I
those.
was on the water bills, I don't know. There's probably somewhere I'd like to make a chart of which meter goes where they
Where
are.
Brett, I provided that to Brett. There is a interactive map that you can actually walk
Oh.
around Harmony and touch it and see
Okay,
where the meters
Because
are. and
if
the
I,
gas are.
if I could write them down every month, put them in the right slot, and we can see. You know, this one's usually $40 a month, and all of a sudden it's 300, well,
Yeah.
something's wrong, you
Well,
know?
But, yeah, but the bills show what the usage is over the last year typically.
Yeah. And we've got to be careful with that, but we can go over all that and Barbara with Toho, she's their customer service representative. She is sending us weekly every Friday.
Oh, that's right.
A
yeah.
summary, and it's wonderful to look at. I mean, we have one area out near the estates that's using, what was it, 69,000 gallons of water every time the sprinklers come on. And that's once a week, I mean, twice a week. So that bill runs us anywhere between 2,000, just for that meter, $2,000 to $4,000 a month. So Brett and Benchmark are tracking that down now to find out where's all that water. That's an enormous amount of water.
Right.
And that's been going on for years. So again, this is why it's so important to watch these like a hawk.
Well, and it's possible there's something going on underground,
Right, and
and
that's
it's
what
all
they're.
just feeding into their water supply so they can sell it to us again. No.
I don't think so. I certainly hope not.
No.
They are really good.
I
And the
know,
nice thing about it is when you spot something and we find it and we correct it, then they are really good about
Yeah.
crediting us back
Yeah.
for that, which is good.
I
They want us
I
to.
didn't mean that they were causing it, or,
Right.
I just meant that it was kind of, when you think about the cycle of it all.
But yeah, so that's there.
Can I ask a question about the electric?
Sure.
Are our streetlights solar powered to an extent? Why do the lights go on and off all night long?
Um, if they're going on and off all night long, they need to be reported because there's probably a short or it's not screwed in or the bulb has kind of,
You know,
Oh,
I've
okay.
been wondering if, so, I've been seeing this for years because I walk my dog at 6 o'clock in the morning and, for many months of the year, it means that I'm seeing these lights blink on and off and, the residents don't report them. So I'm wondering if maybe we can shift somebody's schedule, somebody in field services schedule to just start later and end later for one particular day to do a drive-through of the community and look for lights that are, and I don't know how else to address this, maybe there's some other way, to look for lights that are blinking on and off or not at, operating at full capacity.
I'm gonna make golf cart and warm weather.
Okay, so at the base of each of these poles
Just a
should
number.
be a number on like a silver.
Right,
oval
right, because
plaque.
the one outside my bedroom window, and it wakes me up.
Right, yeah.
And there's an app
Yeah,
on your phone that you can.
for
record it
OUC.
very
Oh, okay, and then someone, and so I think I contacted, maybe it was Ernesto or one of, and he said, well, get that, he told me about that thing with the number. But then someone else told me that they motion detect and they would get brighter if they thought someone was in the area. So I thought, oh, it's supposed to be like this, so I got Boomgarten cards.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
they have light sensors that tell them when to come on and off.
Yeah,
But
but it should say. a
so
steady
it should
light.
stay on, once it's dark out, it should stay on steady.
Okay,
And, there was one time where I noticed a whole section was staying on all day long.
Oh,
oh.
And I reported that and they got right on it, but,
Mhm.
I kept thinking that someone would. Don't assume someone's gonna take care of
exactly.
it.
Okay,
If you can report it right away.
So that would be great, Joe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
right.
If you'd be willing to take that on throughout,
That would be huge.
throughout Harmony. Each evening, pick a few streets,
Really,
make a
anything
nice
but,
flow.
anything except coming on at dusk, going off at dawn, the
Mhm.
blinking,
Uh-huh,
stuck on.
The
during
low
the
light
day.
level.
There's one on the corner of Sebastian Bridge and Five Oaks. That is always on and I've reported it 4 times, so I don't.
Well, and that's another thing, I've reported some of these streetlight outages, or intermittent light performance, and nothing happens.
Mhm.
So I don't know how to make OUC. I mean, we're paying for the maintenance on these streetlights, so.
oh, so okay, because someone
Yes.
else told me, well, they were ours to deal with,
No.
we own them, and so
We
we
don't.
pay the fee to have them maintained.
That's right.
Okay,
Yeah, every month.
Yeah, we pay a fee to maintain them,
Uh-huh.
we pay electric for them, so again, if they're staying on or malfunctioning, it's.
and you had mentioned there's quite a few that have meters, we're paying for the meters, but there is really no water.
Yes,
usage.
we need to look into that. If we can ask Benchmark to take a look at it. Angel and Brett.
Brett just emailed out the meter map.
Oh,
Oh,
okay,
okay, great. But if you guys can, get with Benchmark and see if there is some way to get rid of all the large number of electric meters we have at each, zone. Because what's happening is they're increasing their, monthly meter charge. And again, we use just maybe $1.17 worth of
Right.
electricity for each of those meters, but the meter charge is gonna end up costing us $30 to $35. Right now, I think it's $18, but they're going up. And if we can get ahead of that, that would save
Okay.
us a considerable amount of money.
okay,
So I don't know if it's a solar or a battery situation, or if there's some other solution to that.
yeah, okay.
Angel, are you there?
Teresa, I can check with Benchmark, but being that it's a maxi system, there's gonna be a certain amount of power that has to go to each controller and satellite. So I will check with them, but I don't know if that option's available at this time.
Okay, if you can just check and see if there's some alternative.
Or if there's a couple that are just close enough to each other that we might be able to.
Might,
string.
yeah, use one meter on them, or one electric meter on them and consolidate.
Yep, I will check.
I'd be glad to run one off my house for $1.17.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Well, same with watering those trees with the bags, you know.
Right. The last item we've got here is supervisors volunteering to perform services for the CDD.
I thought we were there already.
Oh, well, it's kind of,
Well,
it kind of blends in.
yeah,
But this is more like going out and painting fences or something not so related to our decision making.
Don't do it.
Go ahead, Angel. What do you have another?
Don't do it.
Don't do it. That's what I wanted to hear. Again, as I said, and I think Angel just reiterated, there are problems with that. We had a board member that used to do a lot of that, but we don't have the insurance that covers board members. So don't get out there and start doing things that could cause us liability problems.
So question of if it's something that like the Nature and Animal Committee is doing, like trail maintenance, that is strictly on private developer property.
And it's HROA.
Yes.
So if anything under HROA, my understanding is they do have volunteer insurance as long as.
No, we don't have
Under that.
volunteers. We are not allowed on the Harmony Nature and Animal Committee. We're not allowed to have volunteers. We can only have committee members.
Well,
If
yeah,
people
but
want to volunteer to help with trail maintenance, they
committee-
can become a committee
Yes.
member.
right, but I'm
They
saying,
can't just one-off volunteer on a
Right.
day. or
Here's a power tool, yeah.
no, but I'm saying you do have insurance that covers.
Yes.
Your committee members and
That's
stuff.
right.
We do not, so, let's not do that. We have a
don't
section.
I remember a story about Teresa climbing a tree
Teresa climbing a tree.
to fix something? Or maybe.
No, I nipped a branch with a pole saw. We won't, I don't do that anymore. No, I know, I was scolded.
You were reprimanded?
No, I was,
No, but then she.
yes, but not by anybody in the CBD. You can imagine who reprimanded. Yeah. Other items that we may want to discuss. Does anybody have any associated with our organization or anything like that? I mean, or organizational issues.
Well, I still need, I don't even know what app it is, but I still need that training.
Okay, we need
Is
to
that
get
where all the
her,
bills are?
yes,
All the communication that they
Yeah.
get
So
from,
Angel will
Residents.
put you in touch with the person
Paula.
who will
Okay.
give
is
you
that
that.
something I'll do in person or?
no, you can do it, it's
Zoom.
real easy to do, and you can do it right over Zoom. or-
Oh,
Send an email to Paula and you, Joe, right now.
All right, let's make sure that happens.
Thank
Because
you.
she's gonna need to be able to get more time certain access to those.
and the other thing that still bothers me that I can't quite get a handle on. Is email. Now, so is this a place I can? Okay. So it's in Outlook.
Mhm.
And I can't delete any of them, but there's so many of them that I don't need anymore, and that's why sometimes I'm not always prepared, because. Like an email came in, and I read it, and I was doing stuff, and then maybe another one came in. That I didn't notice, and then 3 or 4 more come in that aren't anything, and if I can't take those out of my inbox.
So,
Then my other ones get lost in the shuffle.
so I have a question for Angel, because my understanding is, and please, Angel, tell me if this is correct. Either you keep everything or you delete everything once you have received it and responded to it.
God, no, don't delete them, please.
No, you can't delete anything, nothing. What you can do in your email is you can create folders and shove stuff into each folder. That way it keeps your inbox clean. So you can keep up with things that are coming into your inbox. There's a bunch of different ways. I'll be on site the week of the 20th. If you need help with that, Joe, I'm happy to stop by and kind of show you how we can set up some folders for you. So you can,
But I can't, even when I'm on this Outlook mail system. the one day I had an email and I wanted to compose an email and I couldn't figure out even how to compose it. I had to exit the program and start it back up because then it has the little icon. So yeah, I'm really struggling with this Outlook. I know millions of people use it and it's very business friendly, but
Another way to organize, and maybe this is a little more chaotic, but you can just leave things in the inbox. And with me, I will leave something unread if it's something that I haven't really drilled into yet and need to respond. And you can, even after you've read something, you can go back and mark it as unread, and it will go back to being, bolded and,
Yeah.
hey, I need attention, and get back to it later kind of thing.
Yeah,
So-
and you can also flag.
Right, so,
Helps me.
so that's maybe stopping short of doing a full organization, what, I mean, there's definitely benefits to that. Folder for,
Yeah.
with agendas, whatever else,
yeah.
but you can also, have a, there's more than one way to do it.
Yeah,
Well, I think what I need is if I could find a help guide somewhere on it, and I've not been able to find anything like that. Okay, but anyway.
okay, so those are, you need Avid and Outlook
Yeah, right,
training.
right.
My question, I would just like to, and I'm not sure what will be involved in this, is, we had the email cut over to the Outlook system, and what's that?
Nope, go ahead, I'm listening.
Well, I'm having trouble accessing emails from, prior to that cutover,
Right.
so from like the first year that I was on the board, so I'm not sure what would need to be done.
We are currently working on getting the emails that you all had through GoDaddy. They are downloading everything and sending us that file.
Okay, so yeah, I just wanna,
Yeah, because that, I frequently go back to find something and whoops, it's below the
Yeah.
level, so.
Yep.
Oh, I have one other thing I put on the email. My son was in town at Christmas and I, got him a pool access card, because my house is his legal residence. And, so I sent an email to Vincent to get that, with his photo and all of that, but I did that from my private email.
Yes, you should.
And then when Vincent sent out a CDD email, my address must have gotten converted in his thing. So what I did is I forwarded that email then to my CDD email, so it's in my inbox. Is that sufficient to cover that?
Yes,
Okay,
and then make sure you notify whoever did that, so they.
I did. I texted him and he fixed it right away.
okay.
So, all right. Yeah, I meant to ask that last month.
No, okay, I have something that I got a call while I was in Iceland. It was from the Harmony Community School, so needless to say, I picked it up right away. But it wasn't about my grandkids. It was about portables. They want me to come down and sit and visit with Dr. Deborah Pace to discuss the use of portables. I need some history, and it sounds like you may have it.
So I was approached by a resident who will remain nameless by that resident's preference, saying that the HOA was going to be, or should say HROA, was going to be approached by the school board regarding portables. I'm like, I don't think that's HROA purview. I requested to see if that resident knew of any agreements. I don't know if, since we have not been able to get previous documentation from our prior district council, I don't know if somehow that document has been recorded. Supposedly there is some kind of an agreement. He thought it was with the HROA and the school district, but it sounds like it's with the CDD and the school district in regard to portables on the school property. I'm not sure why that would be.
Because there were portables there in the past.
Well,
There were, but
that
what
was
does
a
this,
big,
what does the
big-
CDD have to do with that?
right,
Right.
that,
But supposedly there's some agreement.
okay, so you don't have.
I don't have
because
a copy of the agreement.
I've asked our district management to do a search. They've been unable to find any agreement. I thought maybe it was a deed restriction when the property was donated to them, but in the deed for the community school property, it was not mentioned in anything
So-
about portables. So if it is a separate agreement, my guess is it's a separate agreement between Birchwood, who would have been donating the property. The CBD did not donate it. It came directly from Birchwood to the school board. It would have been between those two entities, in which case Birchwood would be the one to enforce it. Not.
But if it's an easement and we are requesting that Birchwood turn all easements over to the CDD, perhaps that's.
Yeah, it's not an easement though,
Oh,
because I've looked on all the documents
I see.
and there's no easement.
my
per se.
suggestion is to ask the
I'm gonna
person
ask,
for
Dr.
any
Pace
documentation.
yes, why, yeah. So
I
I
know
know
that,
it's very controversial back in
Yes.
2016.
That's right.
When it came up before.
yes,
And from reading the notes that I can find, it basically said the HROA and the CDD were out of it. It was strictly a residents taking their concerns to the school board and trying to battle it that way.
yeah.
But I was looking to see, because everybody, I kept hearing about this agreement, but I see nothing, I can find nothing. So if anybody out there knows of anything, please let me know.
Yeah, so far I have not
Okay.
received any indication that,
So
with
does
an
this mean they're thinking of putting in portable?
yes.
They're gonna have to, the overcrowding is just
Well,
phenomenal.
I don't understand why the county commissioners haven't funded new schools.
Well, I
when
don't
they're-
understand why.
When
the
they're permitting all
county-
this development.
Yeah, the problem is
Keep
we
digging,
used to have concurrency standards. We used to have a requirement that you have the capacity in your roads, your schools, your libraries, your playgrounds before you approve all this development.
Right.
That was all wiped out. And now they're saying, well, you have to have the students in order to justify getting funding from the state in order to build a new school. So you gotta be overcrowded before you do anything about it. It takes 2 to 3 years to build a school. It's so backwards and it makes no sense, but that's what it is,
And
right?
it's already so dangerous when school lets out in the afternoon, because people are parked, I mean, there's total
Yeah.
gridlock.
Yeah.
And if I come home at the wrong time of day, I
That's
can't
right.
hardly get home.
That's right.
And I had,
You have to go the other way
my
around.
landscaper couldn't get to my house the other day,
Yeah.
because people wouldn't let him through.
Yeah, yeah. No, you have to go to the other entrance.
Right, and he didn't know the other entrance, I mean, he finally figured it out, but he said, they're blocking him, what's the point, you know,
Yeah.
they're afraid someone will get in front of them.
Trust me, I live right across.
I know.
But it
And-
is convenient in some ways, so.
Yeah, well, and I just love hearing the children's voices
Oh,
and all
yeah.
the laughing and the screaming, you know,
Right.
I love all that. But there is a great big empty lot across the street from the school.
Yeah, but that's owned by.
That is.
I know,
it's
but
privately owned.
maybe he can do something for the community.
Oh, well, good luck.
Oh, all right, I'm sorry.
yeah, I guess
So-
between 16 and 18, there were portables on the.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah, I think they opened the middle school in 19, the summer of, after the summer.
Right.
So the 1920 school year, they got rid of the portables.
Right.
But again, we're back in that situation. Unfortunately, building another school, middle school isn't gonna work because these are all elementary. I don't know what their plan is, but
But a lot of
Um,
people come in that don't, I mean, our school services more than just Harmony.
yes.
Well, and I
that's the
thought that's
problem. They
exactly-
ought to go out and build another school for.
People
all
who
of
don't live in
But
Harmony.
again,
Instead of
Meet
bringing
with
buses
Dr.
to our
Pace.
community, the residential community, right?
I'll go ahead and meet with Dr. Pace and see if we can find out about
Yeah.
whatever agreement or anything, and I'll just report back to everybody about
Okay.
what's going on there.
You have to feel bad for the kids.
Any other, I know, it's so funny. Any other follow-ups or discussions or?
I do have one thing. Osceola County School reached out to me with their Learn to Swim program. Apparently they've done this previously in Harmony. The school district of Osceola County Learn to Swim program for kindergarten. The program has been in the district for multiple years, which Harmony Pool was used, but was suspended in 2020 due to COVID. The school board voted to re-implement the program starting April 23. Harmony Community School students would walk to the pool with their teachers. The dates, 8-day program over 2 weeks, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday. The preferred weeks are April 10th through the 21st, but can make later dates work if necessary. School provides certified swim instructor and the lifeguard, and the hours would be 9 to 2 p.m. Number of students, approximately 20 per hour, and their certificate of liability insurance can and will be provided. So that is the question that they're asking me to bring. That will be on your
February,
agenda.
Okay, great.
Okay, and I'm gonna send this email out to everyone so you can see it firsthand, review it, and be prepared to make a decision at your meeting.
Wonderful. Okay. Did you have something, Dan?
Yeah, just speaking quickly to, we had the issues a couple weeks ago with getting the stuff set up. As it is right now, I talked to Brett when I'm, coming here early to set up, usually the field services, they keep the microphones and the speaker. They'll bring those and they'll, set those up. I'm fine continuing to do this, and I don't think there's any issue with that. If there's interest, it would, take some work on my part, but it'd be possible to, label the equipment, maybe, film or write up something that someone else could follow to set this up completely in my absence if that needed to happen.
I think that's an excellent idea. So maybe when we get the transition between Jason and Vincent, maybe you guys can designate someone.
Right, okay, yeah,
Angel.
I'll put some thought into that.
Okay.
This is your opportunity if you want to discuss or.
Angel just was gonna say something.
Oh, Angel, did you want to say something?
No, I lowered my hand that I initially raised.
You got your email.
Again, this is a time where we can just openly discuss any item you have concern or thoughts or.
I just wondered if there were any, because since it's a workshop, if there were any rules that we had considered amending. There's none that I can think of at the moment, but I seem to recall that we had discussed something about amending some rules in the past.
Yes, we need to go through our rules, and Angel is going to go through, since she has a lot of experience with other CDDs. She's going to go through our rules and with her knowledge of what other rules have been important in other CDDs and do the first cut since she's not a billable entity. So she's going to do the first cut, and then we can take a look at that and see what we want to do, if we want to make any of those changes, if we don't, if we're happy with what we've got, and then from there direct our attorney if there's work he needs to do. So I'm hoping she'll get to that the next month or so. I know she's got a lot on her plate with Sean having left.
Yeah.
And a quarter of the way through.
Okay, so she's already started on.
And there's nothing that strikingly comes to mind or even comes to mind really at all, except that I seem to recall that there were some rule changes that we were thinking about doing, but
There are some of our rules are somewhat questionable as far as being enforceable. So again, she'll work on that, and then we'll take a look at it and see where we want to go with that. There was something I just.
So I'll do another comment. Does anyone have feedback on the website? I know usually it maybe takes me a day or so from receiving the agenda to get it posted. Just from the inside, my thoughts are I'd like to have a more streamlined and more I'd say more modern and the updates right now, I'm able to do them. I don't mind continuing to do them. It's a little tedious in that it's it's the website that's probably 15 something years old at this point. So there are templates. There are easier ways to if we have content that we're posting, you know, a couple of times a month, it doesn't need to take the amount of work that it does with the website right now. And there's things like, you know, a bulletin board page that even when David was running it, you know, weren't being, you know, kept up to date and not really serving any purpose. I'd solicit from feedback from the rest of the board, you know, management, anyone else on, you know, just any direct feedback, but then just, you know, maybe some point I'll, you know, put a call out, you know, if you'd like to have a hand in helping, you know, streamline the website, you know, I welcome you know, community input on that.
Well, from my point of view, I'm guessing from Joe's too, we would want from you, like, it sounds like what you're saying is that whatever platform or template or app or whatever that our website is using is kind of outmoded, and that maybe you're thinking of updating it to something that is easier to update.
Correct.
And so I think the thing we, you know I'm, you know, totally not knowledgeable about that kind of thing. And I'm guessing the rest of the board is in the same boat except for you. And so if you have a proposal you'd like to bring to the board, I think that's the way to go.
You tell us what we want and we'll make it happen.
I think you're doing a great job.
Aesthetically though, I mean, if you do have any, you know, so right now we have we put, you know, right in front of it, put the notice about the vacant seat. I'm guessing, you know, below that, I'll put a link for, you know, click here to see the paving schedule, and, you know, that's something we, you know, okay, yeah, I, you know, interrupting myself, so, yeah, I'll take that into consideration as well. You know, my free time was, you know, almost non-existent for a lot of the prior year. It's, you know, getting better as of late, so I'll put some thought of that.
If you make it easier, I would volunteer to help, but I don't have a clue how to do anything.
There's companies out there that will come in, they streamline your website. I mean, everything, like all the district websites that we manage, and even ones that I managed at my previous company, are all very simple. WordPress, very simple to use, simple to navigate, easy to upload and download and make changes to. There's a lot of them that do that. I will tell you again, and I said this a couple meetings ago, the ADA compliance lawsuits are starting up again.
Yeah, I mean, it's hosted on WordPress. Just I've been hesitant to, you know, make any kind of substantial changes, again, knowing that's, you know, kind of they're lurking in the background, so.
Well, Harmony's website, I mean, and again, I wasn't here when it was designed. I don't know really the intent that was behind it, but it's a mess, for a lack of a better word. There's stuff on there that should not be on there. You click on things, you can't find certain things. There's a link, I came across a link to crossword puzzles the other day.
Yeah, we gotta get all that stuff off there.
Yeah, so there are ways, if the board wants to, at the February meeting, if they're okay, I can work with Dan on some different options that other districts use, outside companies that they're totally responsible for the content uploading, making sure it's ADA compliant, you get quarterly updates, or if you're just wanting a platform and Dan, you keep maintaining it. So, I mean, there's different options in whichever way the board wants to go.
Okay.
My only concern with that, with the private website maintainers would be at one point in time, this may have changed, they were charging per page that they upload to the site. With our agendas, with our transparency desires, it could cripple us.
Yeah,
So-
I'm fine continuing to maintain that second idea sounds, whether it's, you know, if you know, someone from the community volunteers wants to help with that, or, you know, we can look at what just is available commercially. With maybe some, again, my worry is just having some kind of, you know, a safeguard of, okay, well, at some point we throw the switch and it's on the new site. do we still have, you know, the last 7 years of everything, and is everything still as accessible as it was before?
Yeah.
So that's, as long as we're doing that.
Okay, great.
I have a question if we can back. What are we gonna do with our trash cans on the alleys?
That's HOA.
They put them out front. We're gonna have to coordinate with them
Oh, I'm
Pick up.
sorry.
to,
You're talking about when they.
when
When
they
when
repave
they're
down.
repaving,
Yeah,
yeah.
they're gonna have to take them around front and have them picked up there, which is gonna be a problem because everybody's cars are gonna be out.
Right.
So again, it's gonna be a learning curve.
Maybe we could have a community corner, everybody takes into a certain corner.
They can pick them all up. But yeah, that's again, the paving company, I think they coordinate. a lot of
Oh,
that.
okay, and they could use a dumpster if they had to. Okay,
One more thing, and we discussed it a little bit earlier, Facebook. Obviously, we can't have any kind of like a open discussion forum that, you know, sunshine law, you know,
Right.
moderating it, there's absolutely no way to do that. I do think there had been one of these in the past that would just run, I guess, kind of ad hoc by field services, but there are guidelines in place for local governments to have a Facebook presence. You know, they give you, you know, they have their own guidelines of, you know, what you should and shouldn't, post on there, how to, you know, insulate what's going on as government versus your own personal account and things like that. I do think we should look into doing that again, strictly as a way to broadcast information. So here's the agenda, here's when we're having a meeting, here's the
well,
summary.
actually, I worked with Angel on that,
Okay,
but then we have to pay, everything has to be backed up and stored. And it
Yeah.
was gonna cost,
even if it's just, hey, here's a link to our website, here's a link to our website, here's a link to our.
Yep.
and it was
Yeah,
gonna cost like
unfortunately.
$5,000 a year.
Nice.
Yeah, so there's companies out there like Archive Social, and there's some other ones too. Anything that the district puts out, that's why we did the workaround with the YouTube situation. Anything that the district puts out, number one, has to be ADA compliant. Number two, you have to back up everything because you're subject to public records laws. So if you have a Facebook page, we do it in celebration. Against all recommendations, they decided to do one, but we have all comments turned off. And we put out there, it's a government page, it's a celebration CDD. And it's literally just pushing information out like, they're having a major sidewalk repair being done right now. So we push that out. No one can make comments on it at all. All they can do is like it or dislike it. And that's it. And then we have Archive Social, they back it up. So that's how Celebration was able to do it. You can do it, absolutely nothing against doing it, but you have to follow the law. And the rules.
I'm in complete agreement there. That's not a discussion forum. There should not be any kind of, again, subject to, like the comments on the Zoom meeting, that would all be records, and that we can't do that. But if you wouldn't mind for the February, just putting some information on what that would cost, because a lot of people said they want it, and if we can put them, say, hey, we can do it, but here's how much it's gonna cost everybody, that'd be helpful.
Yeah, and then you also have to have an administrator of that Facebook page who's going to push that information out. So again, that was built into something Celebration wanted, so they paid for someone to, be a part of dictating and pushing that out. So yeah, I can put together everything, and it takes 5 seconds. It's not anything crazy, I could even do it. Or I could have one of our administration girls do it. We send out updates, I don't know, every Friday for Celebration currently, or if there's a major project going on. It's nothing crazy. Now, if it starts getting into you want stuff pushed out every single day and it's lengthy and stuff, then you might have a different take on it, but
I was suggesting it would be inappropriate for one of the board members to have the keys to that and be responsible for, I mean, Carol and I, between the two of us, hey, we're having a meeting, or here's what happened at the meeting.
yeah, the board should appoint a board member to be responsible for that. That's totally fine. Whatever the board wants.
But it would probably be better for the admin to do it.
Sure.
Because I wouldn't want there to be strife because of what did or didn't
All right,
get posted.
you're
But
doing
they
it
would
wrong
be doing
or something.
Right.
Name, date, or, what it is, the date and whatnot.
So information.
But again, it's kind of frustrating because we have all that out there on the web. So maybe if the web page is streamlined.
I
and
think
more
that
user
will be,
friendly,
that's gonna be a big key.
that may take away.
Yeah, I mean, and you can lead a horse to water, I mean,
Yeah.
there's apps are what people are actually using, and even.
But a lot of them aren't.
Oh, of course.
So, I'd rather have something out there that everybody can access than just a few that
Yeah,
are. on
and
Facebook.
younger families moving in, or I'd say less likely to be on Facebook versus, other social networks, we
Right.
haven't even considered that.
So, yeah, how many social networks do you start
Yeah.
using?
Right,
It's
yeah,
frustrating.
agreed.
Anything else?
Move to adjourn.
We can't take action.
Oh.
I didn't second anything.
Well,
We care about. We're just going to say, meeting's over. And we appreciate everybody listening. or the
okay,
workshop's
so
over.
I'll just say, are we ready to adjourn?
Are we ready to end the meetings?
I'm ready to go home,
Okay,
sit in
Let's
my
go
easy
home.
chair.
it's been nice joining you, whoever stuck with us all this time.
Thank
We
you.
appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Thank
I
you,
see
Sean.
Sean
What
up
time
there.
is it in England? Oh my goodness, it's got to be like 1 AM.
Yes.
1.
Whew. All right,
Carol,
take
it's you.
care. Bye-bye. I'm off.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye,
thank you,
Angel,
Angela.
thanks for your help.
I may have been off this whole time. I think my battery. Oh, well.